Welcome to Learn to Crochet Lesson 2. In the first lesson, we learned how to do a chain stitch, and we can make friendship bracelets out of chain stitches. Now we're ready for the main stitch in crochet called single crochet, and all of the other stitches are based on this primary stitch. So the single crochet makes a row above the baseline that you've made with your chain stitch. So here I have made a row of chain stitches, and I've made 10 stitches here. Now what I'm going to do is make one more chain stitch so that it creates height here, and then I'm going to do a row of single crochet stitches here. Then I'm going to do one more chain stitch here for height, then another row of single crochet stitches, and so forth. Chain stitch for height, single crochet, chain stitch, single crochet. That's how we build any project. You can make a scarf, you can make a purse or a wallet, you can make a blanket, all out of this kind of pattern. So I have our 10 stitches here, and I'm going to do one more chain stitch for that height. Now the way to do a single crochet stitch, we're not going to stitch into the single crochet for height, because that was the point of that, to give it just that little extra length. But now we're going to go into the next stitch. So what we're looking for is something that looks like a hilltop. So we're going to go into, we're going to put the crochet needle, pretend like this is a face and it's facing you. You're going to put the back of the needle into the first hilltop, but it goes through 2 hilltops. So you look for another one just behind that first one. You want to get that needle through the second hilltop. Then with your left hand, you take the yarn, wrap it around from back to front. Then you let go of it and you clasp the chain stitch row with your thumb and your index finger for control. And then you pull the hook through the 2 hilltops. Now you're halfway done with the stitch. You see you have 2 hoops on the hook. Now you hold your project in your right hand, hold the yarn in your left hand. Once again, wrap it from back to front around the needle that is still facing you. Once again, you clasp the project with your thumb and your index finger. And then once again, you hook through 2 hoops. Now you have completed your first chain stitch. So what you have here in the project so far is a row of chain stitches. You can see the chain stitch for height here, the 11th one in this project, and then you can see your first single crochet stitch. Now we're going to do the rest of the row of single crochet stitches. So you can see that this single crochet stitch is through this hole right there. You can still see a bit of the hole, but you only have put 1 stitch in each hole that has a hilltop over it. So we're going to be finished with this one. So now you look for the next hilltop, and this hilltop was for that stitch, so you're not going to do that one. Your next hilltop is this one right here. So you once again, you take your needle, you face it toward you, you put the needle back first into underneath this first hilltop and the second hilltop. If it's nice one easy stroke, all the better, but different yarn behaves differently, so sometimes you need to work to find that second hilltop. Then you take your yarn in your left hand, hook it from back to front around your needle. Once again, you clasp the project with your thumb and index finger for control. I stabilize the project with my right index finger, hook it, and pull it through. You've pulled it through the two first hilltops. Then second part of the stitch, you wrap around from the back, clasp, and pull it through both hoops. You have completed your second stitch. And I always like to pull a little bit. For my youngest children, I say, make it loosey-goosey, just nice little extra space. You want that stitch to be loose. If you don't want it to be tight. If you make your projects with really tight stitches like this, they will not work. It will ruin the project. If it's really tight like this, you go loosey-goosey and just give it a little extra room. So now you ask yourself, where is the next hilltop that I'm going to go through? It's not this, it's going to be this next one. Hold it here so you can see. The next hilltop is this one right here, and that's the front one, and then you're going to want to go through the one just behind it as well. So you're going to take your needle, you're going to make sure it's facing you, you're going to go in backwards, so to speak. That's one hilltop and then a second hilltop. Make sure that you go through all the strands of your yarn. Some yarns split pretty easily, and so this yarn has about 3 strands twisted together. You need to make sure that that needle gets through 3, not just 2 or 1 of the strands. Once again, you're going to wrap around from the top and back, hook it, and pull it through, wrap, hook, and pull it through. Next, loosey-goosey, next stitch. Take your needle, push it through the first hilltop, second hilltop, hook it, pull it through, hook it, pull it through. Loosey-goosey. Next one, needle, 1 hilltop, 2 hilltops, hook it, pull it through, hook it, pull it through. Nice and loose. Take your needle, 1 hilltop, 2 hilltops, hook it, pull it through, hook it, pull it through. We do this just a few more times and you will have your first row. The biggest mistake people make is they put 2 stitches in one space because that space might be rather big and they'll think, oh, look, there's still a lot more space there. I'll put a stitch in there. But what's very important is that if you start out with 10 chain stitches, then the next row has to be exactly 10. If you put 2 in one space, you're going to wind up with 11, and that's going to make the project get deformed. It's going to have an extra sort of bubble of space. It's not going to be nice and flat. So you need to make sure that you resist the temptation to put 2 stitches in one hole. So where is your next hilltop? It's going to be this one here. So we're going to take that needle, make sure it's facing us, put it through the first hilltop, second hilltop, push it through, hook it. Got to make sure you get all of the strands. Hook it, pull it through, nice and loose. Next stitch, put it through 2 strands, hook it, pull it through, hook it, pull it through. We're almost done. Here's another hilltop. Push it through, hook it, pull it through. Make sure your needle's facing you. Push it through 2 hilltops, hook it, pull it through, hook it, pull it through. Last one. Push it through, hook it, pull it through. You have now completed your next row of your project, and when it's ready to go, you just do one more chain stitch. You remember your chain stitch. Then you flip it over where you're facing what used to be the back. You skip that stitch, push it through, and now it's going to be much easier to see the 2. You're never going to have to work as hard as you did on the first row. The first row after the chain stitch is the hardest row of the project. But now it's going to be really easy to find those 2 hilltops. You're not even going to have to think about that. You pull it through, hook it, and pull it through. Push it through those 2 hilltops, hook it, pull it through, hook it, pull it through. And then you continue on, do one more chain stitch, and then another row, back and forth, until your project is done. Good luck with your single crochet.